Welcome to Blender Frenzy. I am Justin, and in this video, this is what we are going to create. So we're going to use the front and the side images to create the starting of the face. And we're starting with this because we want to create good topology, both around the eyes and then around the nose down to the top of the mouth area. This will allow us to have a good start before we start extruding everything around the top of the head and back of the head and the sides. So when you're done with this video, you should have something that looks like this. Welcome to Blender Frenzy. I'm Justin, and we are going to build this Terminator skull. And I'm sorry for the delay on this next video. There was some minor emergencies with family and vehicles and stuff, but everybody's okay. And so even though this was supposed to be for Halloween, well, now you can have a Thanksgiving Terminator. So if you haven't watched the previous video where I set up my reference images, these are the two images that I'm going to use. I just took screenshots from online. So if you want to follow along with these two images, you're going to have to go online and search for them. But I have a download with these images that you can use. I can't distribute the other ones because they're not mine. But these are mine, and I have a blend file ready for you that has everything lined up, all ready to go. All the cameras, all the reference images that you need, and again, even a split view here with the front and the side where you can work simultaneously. There are two ways you can get that. Both of them are on blenderfrenzy.com. If you go there, you can become a member for free, a free tier called the Freebies, where you get all sorts of downloads for following along with my YouTube tutorials. Or if you just want one download and you don't want to become a member, I understand that. So I finally added a Freebies single downloads, so you can go to downloads here and get the starting blend file for this tutorial series for free. You don't have to become a member. You can just download the file. And of course, if you want to go full out, you can go get my new Blender VFX course. It's head tracking, where we take the Terminator skull, which is already included in the course, and we put it on our head and make it look like it's underneath our skin. But with all that out of the way, we are going to start modeling our Terminator skull, and we're going to do this in the same way that we did the human skull. So if you haven't seen that series, you might want to go back and watch that as well, because we're going to use a lot of the same concepts from there, and I might not go as slowly or thoroughly as I did here. So here are some extra videos you might want to check out. Okay, but with my blend file all set up and my reference images ready to go, I am going to add in a mesh plane. Let me also get my screencast keys here. Okay, and then rotate that on the X. Now the screencast keys doesn't pick up secondary keys. So if I press X or Z or Y now, you can't see that. And that's within the rotate. So that's anything. So if I scale it on the X, Y, or Z, you can't see that secondary button. So just keep that in mind. Rotate X, so RX, and then I'm just going to type 90 and then scale that down, and we want to apply that scale. Now I'm going to reiterate something that I said in the last video as far as our reference images. First of all, we want to make sure we can't select them, and we can do that by enabling our restriction toggles up here and then unchecking selection for both of these empties. These are the reference images here. I've also renamed this cam front and cam side. I'm going to also, we'll say ref front, ref side, just to be consistent here. And by the way, we're not looking through the cameras right now. If I hover over here, I can press 0 and go into the camera, and same thing here. But here I'm actually looking at front view. So that's number 1 on the numpad, and then 3 over here on the numpad. But what I want to reiterate is to take the depth and click back, because by default it's like this, and then we can't see the grid. And then also, if I select this, you can't really see the outline. I mean, you can, but it's really thin. So in our reference image, if we select front also, then it's going to be in front of any geometry that we have selected, and we don't want that. So back allows us to see the grid and to see the full selection of whatever we have. So just make sure that it's back in both of those. And also, I middle mouse out into the 3D viewport quite a bit. And if we select our geometry and then press period on the numpad, it will zoom in here. But I like to have these reference images not enabled in perspective. So it says show in. I only have orthographic. So perspective, you can see if I have both of those checked for that, then you can see them here. And I don't like that because it's just too distracting. So just make sure that those are off like that. Okay, so back here in front mode, take our plane, we're going to add in a modifier, a mirror modifier, x-axis and clipping. Tab into edit mode here, and then I want to make sure we are in toggle X-ray. Now you can right click and then add to favorites. It'll say add to quick favorites. I already have it here, and quick favorites is Q. So then I can select show overlays and then toggle X-ray. So this is the show overlays. So I also did that here. So X-ray mode here. So I'm going to select everything and then grab and move, and you see with the clipping, it clips the middle together so that it always stays together. Without that clipping, then they move apart. So I'm going to scale it to where it's something like this, a good coverage around the eye. Maybe take these two and pull this out a little bit more. Okay. And every time we add geometry or every time we move something in one view, we want to look and make sure it matches in the other view. So I'm going to take these 2 points here and grab those and press Y to move them straight back on the Y. And we're going to enable X-ray mode here as well. Okay, so I'm going to move them back actually to where it looks like they are over here. And don't worry that it doesn't go to the side of the face over here. It's not perfectly symmetrical, but it's good enough for our purposes. Okay, so now we're just going to box in around the eye. I'm going to add a loop cut, 4 of them actually, just to box in this groove that you can see, this line that goes around the eye. I'm just going to box that in. And the reason I'm not insetting it is because I don't want these points to be merged over here. We do want these ones. So I'm going to select all of those, just shift select all of those, M, and then click at center. Same thing with these down here, M and then at center. Okay, but because we've added more geometry, we got to make sure these are in the right spot. So for example, these 2 here need to be pulled forward. We'll do another loop cut right in the middle where the eye goes right through the eye like this, and then it will give us some more geometry to work with as well. I'm going to open up the tool panel with T, click and hold, and then click tweak. This will allow us to click and drag points right away. The shortcut is W. You can cycle through all of those options. So let's close that. Now I can just click and drag, and I'm going to move this forward and this one forward here just a little bit, just to kind of still maintain this loop that we have going on up here. So something like this as well. But you see this is in the top corner right there, and that's about here. Now these pictures aren't of the same skull, so it's a little bit different. So you're just gonna have to work with that. Of course, with mine, it's exactly the same, so they should line up perfectly. Something that I did forget to do that I wanted to do before I added too many loop cuts. Take these 4 and then we'll pull them back, these 2 and these 2, and rotate them just so that they're in this line here. Ideally, you want to do this before you add these loop cuts. So again, anytime you move something in the front view, make sure you're also moving it in the side view as well to align it where it looks like it should go. And sometimes it's a little tricky to figure that out. Okay, so these 2 lines are pretty much on the same plane. What I don't want to do is double G. That will do an edge slide. Sometimes we want to do this, but in this instance we don't because it's moving it in both viewports. And I already like it lined up right here like this. So I don't want to move it here. So here it's just 1G to grab and then move that forward. So just moving it straight back and forth. We'll make it line up here parallel with these other ones here. Okay, so let's add in a couple more loop cuts here. So we've got one here that I'm going to add to where it lines up with the side of the nostril right before this little hook groove type thing in between the nostril and the cheekbone. Okay, but you can see it's way off over here. So we're going to have to mess around with these. So we're going to bring all of these up here because this needs to line up right here. And then we can take these, of course, and then move these back. Let's do another loop cut here. and then line it up on the other side of this little groove thing. And we can actually bring both of these up a little bit. Just kind of even everything out here. Okay, and then I'm going to do another loop cut here right in the middle. And I'm not going to bring that down just yet, but I'm going to bring this one forward, and I think I'm also going to bring this one forward here. We're going to be deleting those here actually right now. So let's take these three and delete vertices. And now we can pull these ones up to match the groove of that eye. Take these, double G to slide those all the way up. Take these, double G to slide those down. And then we're just going to match it up with this line or groove here like that. Pull this one down here to match that one. Take this, and I'm going to pull these up to match up here, this groove. But they're all out of whack over here, so let's figure out these. So these looks like they're going to have to all come forward. Just kind of have to guesstimate here. These are two different skulls, so it's just going to happen like that, but we can get it. So this is pretty much going down the middle of the eye, but we're going to move it forward. It's a little deceptive because sometimes you don't know how much forward you want to put that. And same thing with down here. So I'm going to make sure these kind of line up with each other. Again, it's just kind of trial and error at this point. This is on the left side of the eyeball. The right side when we're looking at it, but the Terminator's left side. Okay, so let's pull these up a little bit. I'm going to take these two edges, E to extrude, and then scale those down a little bit. And we can take this point and pull those in. Take these two, E to extrude those down. And then if we take, let's see. Oh yeah, so this is pretty good because this is where the brow is going to be like furrowed here and it sticks out. So this is actually pretty good. If you have something like this, the middle is sticking out, it's a little deceptive because you would think that the outermost should have to line up with the head, but that's not true. So this actually goes back a little bit like this, and these two come out in front of that to create this little groove where the brow is going to be furrowed. In fact, I'm going to also take this and rotate it just a little bit and then pull it out as well because we have this brow coming outwards. If we disable X-ray mode, you can see that a little bit better. So basically you want to switch back and forth between three different modes, the front, side, and 3D view. And if you middle mouse click to rotate in 3D view and you can't see anything, you either scroll back and forth or you can just press period on the numpad and it will zoom you into whatever you have selected. So yeah, this is what we have so far, and that looks, it's starting to look like good topology, and we can check that. If we do a loop cut here and make sure that goes around the eye from the brow then to the nose. Okay, and then before I do that though, let's go to front mode, X-ray. I'm going to take this edge and just double G to slide that up. And then we'll add this loop cut in here, just like that. Perfect. Okay, face select. We select these two faces and E to extrude that for the nose. And then I'm going to come in here and take these edges and just adjust. I always say that, just adjust. And this actually needs to come back. This needs to go back. There we go. So we have starting to have some good topology. We've got a circle around here, and then starting to have a circle or edge loops go this way as well. So it's going to kind of split from here to here. Okay, so let's save it. And then you don't have to do this. I'm going to do it just in case, just so we have something to fall back on. I'm going to duplicate this, the Shift D in object mode. And then we have plane and then plane 1. I'm going to disable the original one, and we're just going to keep modifying. So the more numbers we go up, the more it's modified. Okay, so let's take this, and I'm going to select this edge. And then if I control select this edge, it selects the shortest path between them, but I want the whole outer selected over here. So to do that, I'll select one and then I'll control select in smaller increments. Just hold down control and keep selecting until we get that whole outer edge selected. And in side view, E to extrude straight back on the Y. And then I'm going to hover over here, press 7 to go into top mode. And then let's do also X-ray again. And then with these edges selected, I can press S to scale, Y, and then 0 so that those flatten out here. And then I'm going to deselect these by shift selecting the side ones over here. As just so that we have these still selected. And then I'm going to bring just those back and we'll pull them up a little bit. In fact, I'm going to S to scale and then Z scale them down just a little bit. We want to kind of have it flat on the top here, but then we want the bottom to kind of go angled upward like you see here in the picture. So that's good. That's about flat there. Maybe scale out a little bit more. There we go. And then we have something like this so far, which is nice. Nice. Now we can adjust these points. I'm going to also add, well, first let's adjust these points. I'm going to adjust this here. I'm going to pull these back pretty far just to go back kind of in the middle here, like this. And then I'm going to add in a loop cut here so that we can start following this geometry out over here a little bit more. I don't want that point. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, something like this looks all right. And again, make sure we're also adjusting everything accordingly here. So that actually looks pretty good there. Oh, something I did notice, these need to be pulled up a little bit more. And maybe this actually needs even be pulled up this to match better. So just matching the line here. Yeah, I'm going to take these and pull these up also. That way they can match the lines as best as I can. All right, save many, save often. Okay, so let's align the nose here a little bit better. Let's put in a loop cut here. And as I do this, you can see we have some options down here at the bottom. Oh, it's going crazy. Down here at the bottom, you'll see if I grab those or double G to slide those, I can do like E to go in even mode, which doesn't really help us in this instance. You can see if I zoom out here, double G to slide, and then E. It's supposed to be even. I'm just going to set it here. We're going to instead S to scale, Z up and down, and then 0. So that's flat. So something like that. Okay, and then now we can slide this. Oh, slide this up. And can I keep that even? Nope. Maybe up here if I press F to flip. See, that's supposed to flip it. What flips it now? What if I go down here and then I press C to clamp? Okay. There we go. So if I hover down where it's flatter and I press C, then that will clamp it to be more flat. But that's still rotating it a little bit, and I don't, or do I want that? Well, we'll test it out. Okay, we'll set it there. We're going to take these two, nope, these three, and then pull those in. I'm also going to take this one and pull that in as well, just so that we sort of have these lined up. Just want to try to make these as even as possible. Let's see, we'll pull this back as well. Okay, let's go in the front mode. All right, so let's take these here and just grab them and pull them more towards the nose. Again, lining it up both views, front and side. And then we can take these front here. Oh, something I want to do too is get rid of these faces down here. So I don't want these faces on the bottom. Just delete those faces. Take that, and I can pull this back. I can also turn on proportional editing, and if I press G to grab, you can see this circle. If you can't see the circle and then everything moves, just make sure that you scroll all the way up, which shrinks the circle. And that is your sphere of influence right there. Also make sure your pivot point is on medium point or individual origins. Otherwise it might have some really weird results if it's pivoting around the 3D cursor. But I want to actually take it this way and pull that back. So that's even like that. Okay, and that looks okay so far. Let's take this, let's take this one in front mode and pull this out, and then also rotate it just a tad so it looks like that and matches more of the shape of the mouth. Okay, and let's add another loop cut here. And then one more loop cut right under it, just so we can get this point out. So above and below the point, and then we're just going to take this vertex and, this vertex and pull that out like this to make that point. All right, so we're almost there. We can see what it looks like in subdivision surface, a little bit smoother. Actually, let's tab out into object mode, right click, and then shade auto smooth to start that smooth shading. It's still angular, so we're going to add in another modifier, and we're going to type subdivision surface. And there we go. Let's bump that up to 2. And you can start to see what we're having. Now, of course, this is a lot smoother than it's going to be in the final result, but what I always say and try to convince myself of is to trust the process. As you're starting to build this, you might look at this and be like, wow, I'm overwhelmed. I see too much. There's just too much going on. And what I have here looks nothing like this. It will. It will. Just trust the process and admire what we have so far, which is this. So the only other thing that I want to do is a little bit of the eyes. So I don't want to model in subdivision surface, because if I do that, I tend to have points all over the place and I don't know where they are. So I always model in the standard, low poly angular mode, and then I kind of switch back and forth. In fact, you can right click on this button here and add to quick favorites, and then it's called real time. I don't even know why. And you can see now we have the angular view with the geometry and the points and stuff. And then you can see the actual subdivision surface modifier under that. You can change that by clicking this button called on cage, and then it will show you all the points and stuff wrapped around it. So I like that, but I also like to model here and then just check it occasionally here. Okay, so for the eyes, let's take this loop here, and if you're in point select mode, go in between the points, press Alt, and then click. It should select the whole edge loop here. Now, if it only selects some of them, just make sure you shift select the other ones. So for example, if it doesn't select this one, just shift select all the ones that aren't selected. But you want to have this whole edge loop selected. Okay, and then we want to E to extrude, right click, and then scale that down a little bit. Okay, it's pulling the rest of them because I'm still in proportional editing, so we can uncheck that, and now I can scale those in. Sometimes I forget to do that. I don't want to scale them in too far, but maybe something like this, and then just start placing them where they need to be. Okay, I need to be in my tweak mode here, W, and just kind of tweaking them to where they should be. Just kind of around the perimeter of the eye, like that. And then I'm going to select this edge loop and then let's see, pull that back slightly and then up like this. And then we can fix each one of these individually. Okay, how does that look? Yep, that looks pretty good. And then we're going to take this edge loop again, E to extrude, and then we're going to just grab it and pull it back straight away. And then we can scale it in just a little bit. Press 7 to go into top mode again, S first to scale, and then Y, and then 0 to flatten that out. But then I'm also going to rotate it in top mode to be at an angle like that. And then back here, let's grab this and just make sure this is going around the eyeball. So I'm just going to take all of these and kind of round it out to where it's kind of around that eyeball. It doesn't need to be perfect, something like that. Okay, and then let's see what we have in our subdivision. Awesome. Okay. Now, things are still looking a little bit blobby right now, which is fine because we will fix all of that as we go along. But this is a good start. So we've got good topology going around the eye, going around the nose, and down to the mouth and then back. I can do one more thing to kind of show you if you don't know how to do this. This is probably the easiest way to show you. To make this eye crease a little bit more sharp, we can do a couple different things. If I select, actually I think this should go back a little bit more. And maybe this like that. Okay. If I select this edge loop and then open up the properties panel by pressing N, go to item, and this is going to be, of course, in edit mode. Your mean crease here, if I bring that all the way up to 1, you can see it turns that red or pink or whatever. This is going to make a sharp edge, and if we go back into subdivision, you can see the effect that that's having. So if I decrease this, you can see it starts to decrease the sharpness of that edge. So 0 and then 1. The problem is that this only exists in Blender. So if you're making a model that you need to export into other programs, it's probably not good to do it this way because this is just a feature that Blender has. So the other way to do it is with adding more loop cuts. And what you want to do is add a loop cut inside and then just drag it as close as you can to the outside without being right on top of them. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so that doesn't give us the same type of sharpness, but it does, you can see it does affect the sharpness. So if I double G to grab and move back and forth, you can see that it is helping that to be somewhat sharp. To get it even more sharp, we want to add one around the outside and then scale that in as far as we can without actually overlapping it. And then we go. And then we have this sharper edge. So I am not going to add this one here. So I'm going to undo that one. And I just want to have the one inside. And I'm just going to slide that back just a tiny bit. It just helps to add some definition there. So now we have something that looks like that, which is not too bad. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to extrude more geometry around to the top and then the back of the head around this way and then fill in the side. So when you're ready, head on over to the next one.